The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Welcome to the Double Fist Punch Podcast, the only podcast where we teach you how to fight, sort of.
Inefficiently.
Yeah, pretty inefficiently though, you know.
I hurt my back this week, so this is harder than normal.
Yeah, don't try fighting with an injured back. That's
No,
not.
I mean maybe that's how I injured my back. I shouldn't have been trying to fight somebody in the streets using the double fist punch.
Yes,
Got
particularly
my ass kicked.
Yeah, don't want to fight Vulcans like that.
No, you shouldn't fight a Vulcan anyway when you think about it. They're like, what are they, 3-4 times the
Yeah, about
average
that.
human?
Maybe if you had a very large metal baseball bat.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Or if you just take a thing out of the engineering. Oh, that's for beating. That's only for beating Khan, though.
Yeah, Khan, you just gotta
Unscrew a piece of pipe.
Yeah, or send Spock after him.
And spun Spock after him and in the alternate universe.
Yeah.
Yes, so. All right.
So
Everybody hopefully knows what the hell we were talking about. Do you know what we were talking about? Thank you once again for doing this, so I get to sit here.
Yeah.
Julian, I appreciate the fact that you do this for us.
Yeah. So we have another couple good episodes here.
And one not so good one.
Yeah, if we get to it. So I was actually wrong last week. I said that we were going to be covering what are little girls made of, and then Miri, but as it turns out, the star dates, or was it the air dates? No.
So it was funny because I looked it up on IMDb, and you have the order right compared to what it says on IMDb. But in this book, they have these two. They have Miri, and they have Dagger of the Mind switched based on the this book, based on the star dates that are set in the episodes. So I never really understood how star dates work. Like I've never done the mathematical aspect of it, but it's like 27-1-12-4 is what Little Girls Are Made Of. Dagger of the Mind is 27-15, and then Miri is 27-13. But they have this chronological book. They have Dagger of the Mind taking place before Miri.
Mm-hmm.
But even though Miri aired before Dagger of the Mind, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, so we get to cover 2 good episodes and then a bad episode.
Yeah.
Or 1 and 1 and 1.
We'll see where we get. But
so this is what little girls are made of. That's the first that's the first episode we're covering today. And there should be actually there's a less detailed description on the back of this one. Or synopsis, I guess you'd call it. The Enterprise is assigned to discover what has become of Dr. Roger Corby, the pasteur of archaeological medicine. There's been no word from him for 5 years, so I didn't actually remember that that it was medicine that he was studying.
Okay.
But we also have some Trek trivia. Written by horror master Robert Bloch or Bloch?
I don't know.
B-L-O-C-H?
Yeah.
Block.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
From Psycho.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then this is what I was going to bring up earlier when we were talking outside of the episode. Sherry Jackson was the pretty girl of the day for this episode.
Hot android.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Pretty android of the day.
Yeah. She's what?
She was a child actor.
Okay.
So she was actually kind of had some star power before.
Oh, okay.
Before being on this.
Oh, she's from Make Room for Daddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she grew up a little bit. Apparently, from when I remember that Make Room for Daddy. Is that the Danny Time? No, that's not the Danny Time show. Danny Time show was the Danny Time show. But okay. So she was trying to get back into it. It sounds like this was kind of her breakout role as probably a 20-something year old. So.
Yeah. This is a good episode.
This is a big Nurse Chapel. This is kind of, we've seen Nurse Chapel before this, but this is the first time we really kind of get Nurse Chapel backstory.
Yeah, we get Nurse Chapel again, and like we probably mentioned it in an earlier episode, but that's Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Yep.
So she gets better as time goes on in terms of her acting.
I agree with that.
She's
Yep.
Sorry, there's an alarm going off
okay.
somewhere.
Yeah, there's just a truck beeping somewhere.
Probably a truck back up
It's
next door.
fine.
Yeah, like her as Waxana Troy, she was a much better actress. Like, she gets better as time goes on.
I think she's got some pretty good episodes, even as not all the time she good as Chapel. Sometimes it's very corny, but I think this one's a good episode. I think she has a couple really good moments in this episode, and I like the. Again, I've been watching Strange New Worlds, and Nurse Chapel was on Strange New Worlds, and they kind of they talk about Dr. Corby that she hasn't met Dr. Corby yet, but she wants to go work with Dr. Corby. On Strange New World. So it's kind of funny that, and there's obviously more, I don't want to spoil any Strange New World stuff, but there is definitely stuff that they're trying to establish, which they know what happens in this episode as well as some other episodes that are coming in on the original series. So, the guy who plays Roger Corby, I forget the actor's name. He's quite a well-known television actor of the time. He was in a lot of Westerns. I always seemed like I'd flip channels, and I would see him in the old TV shows. So this guy's a pretty established actor. And one of my favorite characters doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
Is the big robot guy
Rock,
who is
Rook.
also Rock is from.
Rook.
He was the guy who always played the big tall guy in the movies, but he is Lurch from the Addams Family.
Isn't he also the Gorn as well when we get to him?
He might have been. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He was in the
He
Gorn costume.
is ridiculously strong. Like, just the actor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they really used any sort of a pulley system or something. I think he just grabbed William
I know
Shatner's
he definitely
arm
just picked up William
and just-
Shatner and threw him around a couple times on that. And I mean, he's a big dude. I mean, and he was obviously in some other stuff too. But obviously, people, I always like the old ones, and it was the same way that he would say like when yes, Mr. Adams, and when he'd roll his eyes and stuff on the Addams Family, which was another show that was on around this time, comedy. So.
Yeah, he's got a really fun accent.
Yep.
Or I don't know if you'd even call it an accent. He's just got this like long ago.
Yeah, right.
We were.
Yes, that's the equation. Cancels out programming. And it's funny, like, I think that's the only way he ever talked. Because, like I said, he sounded like that when he was on, how'd they spell it? I'm looking it up. I wonder if he's just R-O-K?
It might be. It's definitely started with an R. Might not even be in that book. He's just such a minor character.
I can't believe they would have left Rock out. I don't know.
But I think he voiced the Gorn too. If he did play him,
He
I
might
think
have, yeah.
because like he just got like Captain. He like brought some gravel into it. But
This is a fun episode
yeah.
because, like, the concept is, again, I think the is genetic. Like that idea of genetic engineering, which was very popular in the '60s, which was a big concern.
yeah, like
Like living forever and like that obsession with it prolonging life, which was a lot. There's a lot of episodes in Star Trek that seem to, even Miri, when we get to it, kind of has that nod to it. I feel like that was obviously I don't remember because obviously I'm not that old, but I do know that in the '60s this concept of scientific experimentation, genetic cloning, all this stuff was stuff that a lot of people were concerned of at the time. That with what science was doing.
Yeah, this eugenics would have been not that like this is exactly eugenics, but like that sort of thing that was
Yep.
still kind of widely talked about at the time.
Yeah.
But like I thought the actors in this played their parts perfectly.
Yeah.
Like you see it like right at the beginning, right? The guy, security officer man, whatever his
Right.
name is, he falls, and that's hilarious. By the way, he's just
Like, could you just say? Imagine the guy in the when they do the redubbing room, whatever they call that, and he's like, all right, Dave, or whatever your name is, just fall for a really long time. How long can you go? Or do they loop it? Like when they not long enough. Do it again and longer. My God, my throat hurts. I'm just like, you're falling to your death. That's your motivation.
They dropped him to the center of the planet.
Yes.
Because he was going for a while.
And he's not bouncing off any walls, by the way. It's like it's just the hole's like this, but it opens up like Middle Earth. Like it just falls and there's just like there's nothing to hitch.
Yeah, he's
the
hitting,
catch. Just a hit a bounce off of. Like he's done. He's still falling. Yeah. To this day, the guy's he's been falling.
He passed Gandalf on the way down.
He's like, hey, what's that? Wow, look, my car keys.
Yeah, And then we immediately get Rook at this point because he's just kind of in the corner, just sneaking around, and you're just like, okay, so it's that guy.
Doing one of these.
Yeah, he's
like The Rock. The actor, he's got the big eyebrow going up with the big eyes.
Yeah, so this is where you get the first characterization of these androids with whatever his name. He gets shot pretty early on, so it doesn't really matter.
Who doesn't recognize her right away?
Yeah,
and then he has to it's it's kind of funny. Like, don't you? Oh, hello, Christine. Right away.
Yeah,
good evening, Christine.
It's that moment, the fact that he didn't recognize her, and the fact that he did not give a single crap about the death of that guy.
Right.
He's like, no, he's dead.
Yep. No point
that's
looking.
bottomless.
And I do feel like that was kind of like, in this episode, Kirk's kind of like, well, that seems kind of like something's not right here. Like, he senses right off the bat. It is Roger Corby, so there is that. Everybody knows what the guy is, and he's a big star and all that stuff. But at the same time, I think that Kirk is nervous about this because there's no way they should still be alive in their minds.
Oh yeah. So. I don't remember what the accident was exactly. I know he.
Oh, how come they were there?
Yeah.
I think Well, I mean, I think they just got stuck there and they froze. They were supposed to freeze to death.
Oh.
That's what I think it was. No one had heard from them or something, and that people just assumed that they died, like early explorers or immigrants to the United States.
That actually raises an interesting question to me. So obviously we find out via just because this picture here,
right.
He's showing his android hand. We find out that Dr. Corby is actually an android, or what they call them androids in the show, right?
They call them androids, and the idea is that but he is not just making copies, that he can transfer your consciousness. His goal is to transfer the people's consciousness and memories into the android, essentially making the copy, essentially taking over the original. So the original doesn't matter anymore because you transferred everything to the android. So it's not like this is Roger Corby at any point. This is a copy of Roger Corby that he thinks is good enough. That's close enough. And that's obviously the concept. It's like, well, wait a second. Just because it has Captain Kirk's memories and experiences and looks like him, it's not Captain Kirk.
Don't we figure out that he's an android towards the end?
It's pretty late though.
It's like right before he dies, right?
Yeah, he slaps his hand or something. Skins himself.
He just goes.
Kirk kind of tries to get away, and Kirk's concept here is kind of funny, because very early on they make a copy of him.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn quick when you think about it.
Yeah, and again, the for that section, the fact that we've up-resed everything and everything's in HD really kind of worked against that sequence a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we get Kirk spin by and then his stunt double spin by.
Right.
Oh, the spinning thing.
Yeah.
That spinning thing that lasts a whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot of
It's literally just 5 minutes of him spinning and Christine going,
I'm wondering, like, sometimes when you're making these shows, like, back then, they're like, okay, the show's got to be whatever number of minutes it was back then. And they're like,
what shot can we hold and repeat over and over?
We're like 23 seconds short. Well, let's just have him spin long.
Let's just add 23 seconds of him spinning.
5 minutes of spinning just to kind of...
like, yeah, we don't have 25 minutes of ads yet,
Right.
so we need to fill that time somewhere.
So I'm wondering, like, so that I was kind of thinking about that, and I like the fact that he creates the attitude, like that it's that.
Yeah, he's a very arrogant android.
Yeah, no, yeah, like he's like mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your Vulcan interference, Mr. Spock. Like he hears them when they're about to do the final synapsis process or whatever it is. So Kirk acts like a jerk basically. So somehow that will tip off Spock. Like he hopes that Spock will notice that there's something wrong.
Oh, I actually missed that read. I just thought, like, when they were just digging into his brain that, like, that came out for some reason.
Because when Spock, because Kirk goes, the fake Kirk or the android Kirk goes back to the ship and he's in his quarters.
Oh, yeah.
And he's able to get his flight plan or their missions out, which is a weird kind of thing, but whatever. So he gets them out and Spock's like, oh, what's going on? He's like, oh, we're going to beam all this stuff up. And he's like, we are? Like, and he's like, mind your own business, Spock. And then
I forget what he says, but he insults him with some stupid
he's
insult.
like,
your half-breed interference.
Yeah, like, and that's just not something. So that's, for whatever reason, makes Spock nervous.
Spock just kind of goes.
At least he didn't try to hit him with a table.
Okay.
The last time he did that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Jesus.
Yeah, Spock definitely that tipped Spock off.
Yes.
Immediately. But I actually have a question. Like, how do you think Corby happened? Because, like, he said he was, like, on the verge of death. And I thought at first that Rock grabbed him and, like, put him in the android machine and made a copy of him. But then, like, dialogue states that Corby programmed Rock, or at least reprogrammed him. So I'm curious what happened first,
I think that the android reprogrammed Rock. Not the original Corby. The original Corby died. They copied him, and then he probably just died. He was too far gone. Lost his use of his legs and everything. So they transferred his consciousness, and then the original Corby just died. And this one just said, "Well, I'm Corby now, and I'm even better." And I'm gonna get Rock so we can do even more of this, so we can focus on the conscious transferring and all that stuff. Like. Or it's just poorly written.
Yeah, like
I don't think he got better. I don't think they had. I don't think they had the ability like, oh, your legs are fine now. Yeah. I think they, if he would have had more time to explain. Kirk's able to corrupt these androids pretty damn quickly.
Yeah.
And that used to bother me, but then I thought about it. None of these androids had actually met any humans before because there were no humans there. They were all androids. They were all just androids walking around pretending to be humans. And then when they actually meet humans for the first time, they're very easily, like, screwed up.
Yeah, they're...
Which just shows if you're an android, stay away from us humans because we'll make you kill each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he meets... I can't even remember her name.
Andrea?
Yeah, he meets Andrea, like, really quickly. And he's like, hey... How you doing? And she's like,
well, she doesn't do that. She's just
sort
kind
of
like I think
immediately like falls.
No, not right
him.
away because they do the whole thing, kiss him, strike him stuff.
Oh,
first.
that's right. That's right. So they do.
And then she gets
do
confused by the thing because then Kirk just says, "I'm going to play this up," kind of figuring that it would eventually just. I don't think he realizes that she'd kill the other Kirk android. Yeah. But I think he understands he's messing with them because he tries to mess with Rock. He's trying to get underneath their programming to see how loyal they are, and so apparently the androids are not that good. Like they're really kind of easily manipulated.
Data, these robots are not.
No, Data,
very emotional.
Right.
Was the reveal did either of you two were you surprised by the reveal that Andrea was an android? They're like she's an android. I'm like. Duh.
I always assumed Andrea was an android. I assumed Andrea was an android all along, and that he had made like a pretty assistant because he could.
Yeah. And
he was just living on a snow planet, so he's like, I'm gonna make myself something little eye candy. Yeah. I don't remember if I was surprised when I realized that Corby was an android. I don't remember because I've seen this. I mean, I'm like, I was so little, I don't remember. I mean, at some point, I'm assuming I never assumed that Corby was an android until it happens.
I feel I feel that. I think.
Did you think that did you realize he was an android?
I didn't realize he was an android, but she was pretty obvious. I mean, I guess I didn't realize at first. I probably didn't realize it at first because they weren't talking about androids immediately, and then as soon as they were like, "Yeah, robots," and then Christine was like, "Who's your pretty assistant?" I was like, "Oh yeah, she's a robot. That makes sense."
Yeah.
Well, and they addressed that relatively quickly.
Yeah, so like up until they start talking about robots, I was like, and then,
You know what scene that I do remember falling for was the scene when Kirk comes back in and he has the conversation with Chapel and he says, if I give you an order to betray him, would you? And she says, please don't. Give me that order. And she's like, you should eat something. He's like, androids don't eat. I remember watching that episode and being like, oh, like the android's pretty damn good. Like he did it's well done. And even when Corby walks in, he says, "Oh, even as your sense of humor, they have a pretty good process that they've developed."
Yeah, the Kirk droid is like it. Excuse me. It's as arrogant as Kirk is. Well, not arrogant, but like not. No, you know what? I'd say it's a little bit of arrogance. I think like it's just like. Because the engagement between the two is just funny because it's like, I don't have that particular weakness, sir.
Right.
Yeah, just the way
they have that nice little interaction, the two Kirks there with the split screen, which is kind of fun. And one thing I remember learning in this episode is that when you make furniture, don't use rope to keep the legs tied together because someone's going to untie it and choke you with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
like how convenient was it? There just happened to be that one piece of loose rope that he was able to feel that he could get.
Also, Corby's commitment to the bit. He let himself be choked, even though that shouldn't have worked on him.
Well, I'm assuming. I guess it doesn't really breathe though, does it?
Yeah, like I know it copies, but the fact that it had all this circuitry tells me that it's not actually
really
like
breathing.
a bio-android like in Alien,
I do like that Next Generation that they dressed all that crap with Data that like it does breathe.
Yeah. That
it has a breathing system, and that's how it maintains its cooling. So it breathes the same reasons like dogs pant. Like they did the smart thing with Data that there are like. That not only did he just make something that looks human, he wanted the organs to kind of do similar things that humans do. So like he has a breathing system, which is he uses for like cooling and keep maintaining temperature control of his body. He doesn't need to use it. That's why he can go into water and stuff. I always thought that was cool. And then he actually has fluids that go through his system like a circulatory system.
Yeah. I think he mentions that in one of the episodes that he drinks. Lubricant, which is then put into his body.
Right. But he can eat food and experience the taste of it and stuff like that. So like where these androids are just kind of like they're just very robotic. They're robots that have like skin, basically.
Yeah. What do we think about the concept of spinning a table to make clay into androids?
Well, if you spin it long enough and fast enough.
If you spin it for a whopping 5 minutes of screen time.
It's a terrible. There's stuff like that just like, oh God, this did not age well at all. It's just like
I assume it's.
I mean, we have cool things like transporters.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just have like a transporter-y thing?
Yeah. Oh
that was like, why did they have something that was just like a transporter effect?
Yeah, just beam them into a machine, beam two of them out or something. I assume
put a fog machine in there and be good with it. I mean, that's all they do with like Cap in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
they close a door and then they open the door up and he's got muscles, and just let some steam loose and put some sweat on him and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean,
and the positioning of the thing was just perfect to cover his stuff, so we didn't see any Captain Kirk little bits.
We did see fabric of his underwear.
Oh, I guess I didn't notice. I didn't watch it in that. I was just watching it on my phone.
We get a little snippet of enough light getting.
So there is underwear in the future. That's been confirmed. So that's good.
Yes, he is not completely naked in that scene.
No, I like this episode. I do like the must love you. stuff. What do you think of Corby realizing that he's made a terrible mistake as an android and he kills himself and the girl? What do you think of the ending?
I like that ending, to be honest. Like, it's like, he's like, it's just a really cool scene where he's just like, I can prove it. Ask me any equation. Well, if I could just compute, memorize, he's just like calling out
it's
like
process.
machine
It's
thing.
like he's computer man, and he realizes that he's not Corby and that he's not human, and that the best thing he can do is kind of end this experiment. So it's kind of neat.
I thought that was a little.
Well, what else are you gonna do with him? Have him go work at the mall? What are they gonna?
No. I just think like as specifically the line he's talking. The line he. Oh my god, my mic's not.
Oh, that. Yeah, there is that.
My
Like
mic
compute.
wasn't even up. But that.
Equate. Calculus.
Just compute.
Just says, like.
And he does, and again, it's
protractor.
It's another one. It's another one of those things that just lasts a little too long.
I mean, it does last a little too long. But
He does it for like 2 minutes, and then he
Right.
goes, "Fuck, fine, you got me." Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like,
well, it wasn't like a "you got me" moment. He got himself. Really, is what I got from that. Like, he's just like, oh. It's like when you just have this profound realization about how pathetic you are, or something like that.
Well, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then they have the scene at the end where it's like, well, she's decided to stay with the ship and all that stuff, and that's how they keep her on the Enterprise. Like,
well, I mean, where would she have gone? Like, what would she have? I mean, he's dead now, so like, if he was real,
well,
I
she
mean,
might
I
have
get
been
it.
felt it was too hard to do this. I don't know. Like,
Oh,
they established at that point that she was going to be a recurring character. I guess is the point, which is
She's
kind
like,
of like,
let me stay on this deserted planet where my
besides, I got the hots for
lover
Spock
was
anyway.
gone.
He's a better looking dude, and she does like the guys that are kind of like a little off humanoid.
Well, they're leaning into that in Strange New Worlds too already. Like, we're only a couple episodes in, and they're kind of getting into the.
And that's why I said this episode ties in with a lot of that history,
right?
As you'll see as you get to it, and also, Spock's interactions with Chapel are kind of neat. He's like, "You're a right nurse," like he kind of is concerned for her.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, I think even in the show, you do feel like Spock recognizes that, that not just necessarily this episode, but across the series, that Spock does have some type of Vulcan human feelings for her.
Right. Well, we just watched the episode where him and T'Pring switch bodies.
Right.
In
Which is
Strange New Worlds.
which is just a frigging amazing episode.
It's so well done.
Especially the fact that they use the music when he's fighting himself.
Yeah, it's
Dun,
so
dun,
funny.
dun, dun, dun. Like, and I'm like, yes.
But
Thank
I love
you. You people understand Star Trek. It's like whoever this guy is that's doing Strange New Worlds, like, he's the Dave Filoni of Star Trek in my mind. Like, this guy is my fucking hero, and I'm like, thank you. Thank you. This is all we needed. This is a guy I like the show. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, but they like towards the end, Chapel and T'Pring actually do sit down and have a conversation after they switch back.
Right.
And she's talking about her feelings, and she's very, very, very obviously leaning into the idea. She's like, yeah, I have.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no.
T'Pring. It was the girl with my haircut.
Yeah.
Whatever her name.
Right.
Ortegas.
Ortegas.
Yeah. Who's a great character on that show.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, that's really good. And the actress they got playing friggin' T'Pring. I mean, like, that girl looks like the actress from the original series, like TV show. Like, they leaned into it. Did you notice who in that one of the episodes when we see T'Pring? I don't know if you've gotten to it yet, but did you see who her coworker is?
Her coworker appears
Is a
on
guy.
the screen. Oh.
For a very brief second, she communicates with Spock. She's doing. Maybe you haven't seen this episode yet, because we see T'Pring a bunch of times
In Strange New Worlds?
Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, no, we're not
and
there
she's
yet.
working with a guy named Stun. So we see Stun too. Like, my brother Tom was watching the show and he called me up. He's like, I saw the guy in the background. He's like, we found an actor that looks like Stun too. Like, their casting is really good. They're finding people that you can believe are playing the characters they're playing. Visually, not just characters.
We were talking the other day. The guy that they got to play Spock, Ethan Peck, is just shredded. Yeah. He's huge. Like, he's got these monster pecs in this tiny little shirt. Oh my god, it's
I like
so
Ethan Peck a
funny.
lot. Actually, to be honest, at this point, now that I think the story and the writing is so much better, I like Peck more than I like Zachary Quinto, and I was super happy with Zachary Quinto.
Zachary
in the
Quinto is
movies.
great.
But I think Peck's better. I mean, I just think Peck's has got even and I mean, I like. Don't get me wrong. I think Quinto's really good, and I love that he had that relationship with Leonard Nimoy, and like it's like he thought of him as family, and I love all of that. But in terms of just raw performance of who makes me feel like I'm seeing more of what's. I mean, obviously we only got Quinto in 3 movies versus Peck, who we're getting in multiple story arcs. But I just think that they just did a great job with Peck. I think Peck's really done a great job to develop the character because he does a lot of Nimoy-esque things like that are more than just surface level limitations.
Yeah, I really think that I think Zachary Quinto's can be explained away because like he's an emotionally damaged Spock. Like even though they're Vulcans aren't supposed to be emotionally well, they're not supposed to be, but in universe they really can be emotionally damaged though.
Yeah.
But so I think it makes sense in that context at least. Like
Sure.
it's
Yeah, he lost his mom, died. He lost his whole planet, died. So yeah, we definitely have
lost
like,
the whole damn planet.
Yeah, like that's one of those things.
My wife took the whole damn planet in a divorce.
Yeah. Ooh, that's quite the divorce.
That's great. That's a bad. What did you do? What did you do that you lost that? And why is marriage such divorce proceedings so bad in the 23rd century? How is it? We haven't gotten the common law yet. Jeez, what the heck? So.
But speaking of actors or characters coming in, Sam was mentioned. I didn't even like. I genuinely thought I had thought that Sam was mentioned in the episode where he dies. Basically, like, oh, Kirk has a brother. His name is Sam. He's dead.
Yeah.
No,
they do get one thing wrong. He mentions his sons.
Oh yeah, he's got 3, which I think.
And
he
we only
has
see
one
on the other episodes. Maybe they're at.
Yeah, so we get
Bible
Sam.
camp or something during that episode. So
Yeah,
they didn't get attacked by the.
or maybe they're old enough to be.
Yeah,
like,
maybe they're in the
off-planet.
academy. We don't know.
Okay, so
Cool.
the death of Robo Kirk was just hilarious.
Yeah.
He's just like, she's like, kiss. That is illogical.
That is illogical.
And then she just kills him.
That's again. Never don't date an android because they will just kill you if you don't give them affection.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, did he just, based on what we know about how they create the androids, was there like a dead body or something that he took and like put in the machine? And
No, it's my assumption is that the terrible clay thing has all the wires and everything inside of it already. Everything's inside of it, and basically the spitting is just a duplication of the body look, the hair and the skin, and then the brain's already in there, and they're just transferring. Like you wouldn't just think there'd just be like a wire type of thing where they would just connect the wire like they do in like a one of those old like stupid horror movies.
Well, that's expensive though.
Yeah, like a hat with like a colander. Like usually they just put a colander and stick some nails through it and put some wires on it, and that's how they transfer stuff. But
Light beams.
it's like, I always assumed that they just have like a room where they have like the empty bodies, like the empty like husks or whatever, and they're like different sizes. Well, this guy's like 6 foot. Get one from the 6'1" shelf. There's like an inventory of just like bodies that they're gonna use.
Yeah, or he's an accomplished sculptor and he made her himself.
The artistry of the.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on?
I like this episode a lot. I mean, it's a good one. There's the meme of Kirk Hogan, the stalagmite.
Oh,
that looks like a penis.
I completely forgot about the penis mite. Yeah.
The penis mite.
There's a lot of memes about the Kirk.
It like they had to have known. Like
there's a prop guy that's like
Did they look at that thing and they're like, oh, this looks like what a rock would look like, and not like a enormous.
It's the caves and the it's funny the textured walls, like we see these so many times on these shows. I mean, obviously we understand that we're making fun of it because they had to reuse things. There wasn't new budgets for that building new sets for every single episode. So
I love that the cave sets and stuff. They just kind of look like a glow in the dark mini golf course. You ever been to like one of those mini golf things? Right. They just put like a bunch of different colored lights on them, and it's all the
But the floors are always fine. The floors are polished.
The floors
concrete.
are always like perfect.
We can't do walls and ceilings. We can only do, and we can make totally ridiculous shaped doors.
I'm-
Just because in the future, I do expect if I make it into, like, if I somehow could get cloned and turned into an android, I'm hoping that the doors really do evolve into these bizarre shaped doors in the future. Instead of just a simple rectangle, let's have it like a hexagon.
Yeah.
Why can't a door be a hexagon?
Well, wait a sec. The outside of the door will be a hexagon, but it will just be two regular doors
right,
that
just
will
regular
split
doors
right
that push
open.
together.
And there will be
and
two
there's-
guys
and
that
there's two
stand
guys
there
just
and
live
pull
in
them
your
apart.
house that you know, like, yeah, like. And I love that that's still how it works. To this day, there's still stagehands that they have not eliminated. You know, AI, no robotics. There's just two guys that, or maybe a guy and a girl, maybe that get the work to be the door opening guys. Like, what did you do on Star Trek in Star Trek Strange Worlds? I'm the door guy.
Yeah.
Is that a grip?
Every
I don't know what
time a
else
door
is,
opens, that's me.
That's me. And nobody, he's the best door guy in the business. There's one guy, I got to have Larry. Don't bring Kevin in, he's terrible. I want Larry opening my door.
Dude, Larry has never failed in
Larry's
opening the
never
door
failed
on
the
cue.
door.
Nope.
right.
Exactly
Shall we
23
move on?
microseconds. Yes.
All right.
So we are now moving on to
Dagger of the Mind.
Yep.
I like Dagger of the Mind. I forgot how much I like this.
Oh,
I
no.
just crashed the Enterprise.
Oh,
I
jeez.
just crashed the Enterprise. I broke their little ships.
Historically accurate.
As they say in First Contact.
But Dagger of the Mind. It's pretty good. Do we have a synopsis for it?
It's getting out of here.
There we are. So, the Enterprise, on a resupply mission to Tantalus 5 penal colony, accidentally takes on an inmate attempting to escape. The inmate is later discovered to be Dr. Simon Van Gelder, Associate Director of the Rehab Colony.
Not Horace Vandergelder from Hello Down.
Investigation by Kirk and psychiatrist Helen Newell reveals Van Gelder to be suffering from adverse effects of an experimental neural neutralizing device developed by colony director Dr. Tristan Adams. The device, intended for treatment of violent patients, had induced temporary mental disorders in Van Gelder. The device is destroyed, and Van Gelder is apparently promoted to colony director. Dr. Adams is reported to have died as a result of overexposure to the neural neutralizer. That was a comprehensive
It is.
summary.
There's a lot in this. First of all, we've already realized in many of the episodes that if you are a successful doctor's research person in the future, you're probably going to just go insane and
Yeah.
end up getting killed. Because
Yeah.
we've already had what's his face from The Cage,
Yeah.
Leonard.
Yeah.
Leonard's girlfriend's new husband. That guy. He fell in love with a salt monster. We had the last episode. We had a guy die and basically kill himself with androids.
Yep.
And now we got a guy that's got a spinny light, and he's kind of sick on his own power.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comments about like the medical community on this show. I never caught it.
Yeah, it's a bad career to be a scientist in Star Trek. Well,
You just turn into a jerk,
yeah, you either turn into a jerk or you die horribly.
or both.
Yeah, or both. Which Mr. What is his name? I've already forgotten his name from What Little Girls Are Made of.
Oh, Dr. Corby.
Yeah, Dr. Corby experienced death twice.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Dr. Adams is not much of a good. I remember Dr. Adams. He was on. He's been in everything. That guy's been in a bunch of stuff. But I remember he was on Barney Miller when I was a kid too. He was like a reoccurring character in Barney Miller.
Yes.
I like this episode because we get the very first Vulcan mind meld.
Yeah, we get the mind meld. He
And
does
they build a lot of lore into it too. Like right away, right?
Yeah, he's just like, this is very personal
Like,
for
yeah.
my people. This is a deep emotional connection.
It's
and
not a party trick to
Yeah.
him, which is cool. I like that they take their time for the first one, really making it into something cool. You got to imagine if you're like, you're watching Star Trek for the first time, and you got this cool guy and everything, and he's got the Vulcan neck pinch. Now he's got the Vulcan mind meld, and it's like, wow, this guy's got some cool lore, some cool universe building for this character, which is cool. Good stuff. And he doesn't really. It's not like, yeah, I'll just do it. Like there's like, to me, there's some moral and whatever, like technical reasons why he's nervous about doing it.
Yeah, it's shown to connect him a little. Like he doesn't get as like bad as he does when sometimes he does a mind meld.
Right.
But you do see that like the emotions that are flooding into him kind of affect him a little bit.
Right.
While he's in the mind meld. It would still be a little while before we get the exact finger placement for the mind meld because it's just kind of like
he's just
kinda
it's a
go
little
like
bit
this.
different. It's a little bit different in this one.
But you can actually see it in the.
I would guess that like Leonard Nimoy like almost probably said we should do it differently because it seems like he was really into this stuff and he came up with so much of what they do, so I wouldn't be surprised. But he talks about like that it makes medical changes to the subject. Like I like that it's not just like woo, it's the Force. It's like it's an actual like there's a biological reason that it works.
Yeah, they address that in the Next Generation too, like that it's really a two-way street, like because Serac,
Sarek and Picard.
Sarek and Picard do a mind meld in order for Picard to utilize his his willpower basically to hold Serac together, which is just a horrible experience for Picard.
Right. Well, yeah, because then he ends up essentially experiencing the symptoms of the disease that Sarek has, and then you guys already mentioned the episode where, Vulcan mind meld goes wrong, type of thing.
There's a couple of those, yeah.
So I mean, it's cool that it's again, that's one thing you have to appreciate about the original series about where this stuff came from. I think one of the reasons why it works is the actor who plays Van Gelder really helps sell it. You know what I mean? Like I think one of the things you'll notice, like whenever they, like the first time that, like when Kirk gets the Vulcan neck pinch in Enemy Within, it's like they do, like the actors have to sell it. Like it's just this isn't good enough. Like they have to. So I think this actor. He's obviously he's very, very, very intense and stuff, and I like that it works pretty well.
Yeah, he was like, I think it says it in like the apocryphy on Memory Alpha, but like the actor that played Van Gelding had to rest for like 4 days after he did that, because you could see it like while he was like. When he was pretending like the mental blocks are causing him pain, like you could see him like forcing blood into his face. His face gets visibly redder when he's doing it, and like you see all his veins bulging out. He was
because he had to like pretend that it was causing him excruciating pain to try to answer the questions and try to say what he wanted to say. And I like after like when Kirk and Dr. Noel or whatever her name is plan to stay the night, because Kirk starts to sense there's something going on. He doesn't really believe, like, how did the scientists get, like, onto like, this whole thing of what happened to him? How did he go mad on a planet that is known for their treatment of people with mental illness? Like, so he's kind of like, with the doctor, she's just so impressed with the guy, and he's like, no, there's something more to this, like, and even McCoy, like, at first he doesn't necessarily feel that way, but he trusts McCoy's judgment because McCoy thinks it's off. And Spock does too, because originally Kirk is almost the same way, like, come on, it's that guy. He's famous. He's really good at this. I'd like, and then they're like, there's something that's not right about this. Like, it just doesn't seem right. So I like that he trusts his staff, so to speak. And then he goes down there, and then when Van Gelder's like, no, don't let them. The line's terrible, though. Like, he will destroy them with death. I'm like, what? Destroy them with death? Well, that's it? Oh, okay. Well, that's totally not crazy right there. But I do like that. I think the actor's really good. He's like, no hypo. And he's trying to tell them. Like, I know it's pretty cool. Like, I think it's pretty good storytelling.
Yeah, I think we get like some like look at. We actually get a hint that he is under the effect of the neuralizer before like we actually get his biography. I think, if I remember correctly, the order of events was we see him like struggling to get certain words out, like his name and
Right.
what he was doing. And then on the planet, we see the neuralizer for the first time, and they use it for a bit, and then Kirk walks out, and then the guy's immediately just like, "You will forget everything you heard. Even trying to remember will cause you physical pain."
Right.
And then if you're like thinking about it, you can kind of put the two and two together. That this guy on the ship, who we don't actually know who he is for sure yet, is experiencing symptoms similar to what
Right.
this tech induced onto this person.
Right.
Like I'm curious about the motivations for all of this. It seems like Dr. Adams was really interested in just creating, like, just as a healer, he had this this reputation already, because he had reformed the penal system, right? And which, by the way, the fact that it took until now to turn the penal system from a place of punishment to a place of
yeah, that's a little dated, obviously.
yeah. I'm like, wow, 2100 before that happens, huh?
Right.
Or 2200. Wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot of progress. Apparently not a lot of R&D going on in in that part of medical research.
Yeah, but I mean, for the time,
I think that the way I have always read Adams is that I don't think he's necessarily evil, but he's afraid about being exposed as being a fraud or whatever. So, because obviously Van Gelder comes in, and Gelder's like, "This is wrong. You can't be just like doing this shit." So well, then I'm going to stop you. And then Van Gelder gets away. Now Kirk wants to come down. So now he's all in. So now he has to do this because he has to convince Kirk to just leave. I think his goal was to just get Kirk and then eventually the other doctor to just plant in their head that Van Gelder just beam him back down and you guys go off in your merry way and forget all about it. I think that was his plan so he could continue what he's doing. But obviously that goes amok.
Yeah, it seemed like his motivation was just like because he's already got this great reputation. It seems like he just enjoyed having a little kingdom all to himself down there.
Yeah.
It is very
yeah, it's his hubris.
Yeah, I assume that's not the way the rest of those facilities are run. I assume the rest of the facilities he helped set up genuinely are doing
I think he gets to
things.
this planet and he develops this device and it kind of goes to his head too much. And I feel like everybody in that place was treated to just follow his orders. Because at the end when Spock and the security team and everybody beams down, there's a scene where there's the guys with the the security guards there and they're pushing guys up against the wall, security guards as well as patients. And they're because now they got to figure out. So my assumption always is they go in and they find Adams has basically died of. There's one funny thing in that thing because power goes out. Kirk, kicks the one guy's ass, punches the other guy. Dr. Adams leaves, but the only body that's in there later on is just Dr. Adams. I don't know what happened to the other guy. The other guy, completely, not only his brain disintegrated, his whole body disintegrated. What happened to the other guy? Because the other guy was in there too, but that guy, who cares?
Yeah, he got up and walked out.
and so I'm assuming that after that they had to go back and they kind of had to Van Gelder has to basically do something to everybody to make them understand what had happened to them. Because a lot of them were probably, especially the staff, were all subjected to the use of that machine.
I'd assume so. The staff. There's no way all of them would be okay with this.
I think that's even the weird woman in the dress. She's just creepy as hell. She clearly has been put through that machine, or she's just creepy as hell. I don't know. It's neat. Kirk comes in the last scene on the bridge, and he's moving real slow, and McCoy and Spock are really concerned about him. And they're like, I can't believe that you could just die of loneliness. And Kirk says, you can't sit in that chair. And they're looking at him like, oh man, he's really, and he just gives them a smile. And they're like, okay, he's all right. He's he's still the captain.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, it wasn't like the typical episode where it's like, well, that was another fun episode of Star Trek. Let's move on. You know, let's not, you know, like I do like that. I do like, because sometimes there's some episodes like, and then, you know, then the ship flies off and towards the planet or something.
Yeah, Kirk was definitely traumatized by that.
This one like kind of messed with him a little bit. So
yeah, he didn't really like that experience.
So I know you on the 716 we go, what murder?
Yeah.
Right? Spock doesn't inadvertently causes this guy's death if you think about it.
Yeah,
Because
he turns
Spock
it back
goes
on.
turns the power back on,
Yeah.
and the guy's laying there, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, he was, what do you mean, like he's dead, and you killed him.
He was the best guy around.
They're the
what about
best
all the
guy-
people he
and
murdered?
What
murder?
Dr. Noel, she kicks the guy into the. She knew what she was doing. Kirk just warned her. He's just like, touch the wrong wire and you'll die.
Yeah.
She kicks the guy into the wire. She kicks him into it.
What
What
murder?
murder?
She's just like, all right, well, I don't know how to switch this power system off. I'll just kick this guy into
She
it.
kicked him into it.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
we got the incredibly large air vents like from Die Hard that an entire person can climb through.
duct.
Air ducts, excuse me, like you know,
Duct. It's just like that.
Yeah.
He walks up to the air duct. He's like, duct.
Yeah, it is funny because he gets up like he's like moving in on her, and he's like just going to the vent, and then he couldn't get it open.
It's just
She opens them by herself, but he's like, "Give me a hand!" Like he's got a carpal tunnel, he can't get it open or something. So
Yeah. Can we?
can we talk about this a little bit? Kirk met at the Christmas party.
Oh yeah, she was like, yeah, like that was the thing that like she did, right? He's like, okay, let's try something a little bit weirder this time. And she just goes straight to, okay, you swept me off my feet. And
You
took
went
me
and took me back to my quarters, and we went bone chicka bone bow. Like they didn't do that, but like she clearly wanted that to happen because she's putting that story right. Like that's the way I read this.
Yeah, she's just like, all right, so let's try this then. It's like, no, you couldn't be like, okay, so you have the desire to dance on one foot.
Yeah,
no,
right.
she goes into
she
a
went
straight,
right
like,
to-
you remember we just went to town in my quarters. You swept me off my
Because
feet.
clearly they had at the party and they danced and they had a good time.
Yeah.
And then Kirk, obviously, why I've always read it is that, like, he realized that he was going a little bit too far as captain of the ship, so he kind of cut it off.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe
clearly
like,
he was attracted to her.
oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, maybe you like kissed her or something like
right.
that.
And then we better
it's like,
it's
we
the
better-
Christmas party.
We
yeah.
better not do this.
You know, let's know there's still Christmas in the future
Yeah. Yeah, we still have Christmas in the
and Thanksgiving.
and Thanksgiving. So
We've
we've confirmed
established
2
that.
holidays.
I mean, it was pretty secular anyway. So you know.
We did not get a He's Dead Jim. We almost got a He's Dead Jim. We got a He's Dead Captain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But not by McCoy.
Yeah,
Oh
it was
no,
McCoy.
he's. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, McCoy comes in. He's
Right.
like, "He's dead, Captain." I was like, "Damn, we were that close to getting a He's Dead Jim."
Yeah.
Also, no double fist punching.
No
in
double
this
fist
episode.
punch.
Or the last episode.
There isn't really a double fist punch for a while.
No, there isn't for a while. They actually do it more in Deep Space Nine than they actually
Yeah.
do. They actually like have a lot. The stunt coordinator, I read a thing where the stunt coordinator just loved that. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So he just put it in just kind of like the same, kind of like every movie has the Wilhelm scream, like "Wah!" Like, you know, people
yeah,
just
the
use it
Star
because it's a
Wars.
thing. It's just things that like movie makers like to do. So I think like the stunt coordinators like certain things that they just like to do.
Yeah.
So, you got anything else on this one? I like this episode too. I
Yeah.
think this is a good episode.
No, I thought it was a real solid like look at like what we thought of mental health in the '60s, which apparently we really liked hypnotism at the time.
Well, we also, I mean, we do get a lot of, because obviously Kirk's on the planet for a lot of this, we get a fair amount of Spock McCoy banter in the sick bay scene, and I always think that's I've said it before. I think Star Trek's at its best when those three characters are kind of doing their like they're debating what we should be talking about. Like I like that aspect of. I think that Star Trek does that very well.
Yeah, I definitely like well, this is a deeply spiritual thing for my people, and McCoy's just like, yeah, but do it.
That's Jim Kirk down
yeah,
there,
just do it anyway.
and somebody else,
Yeah.
and one of my
Yeah.
fellow doctors who I never give any work to.
Yeah, who
Unless
we never see again.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, he probably transferred her.
Yeah.
You gotta go. I have like a weird memory stuck in my head that you and I did it at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
So maybe you should go to the fair again. Maybe you should transfer to a
Yeah,
different.
maybe you should transfer.
You're gonna. Hopefully, she wasn't on the Constellation. Because if she's on the Constellation, she's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
Because Commodore Decker just beamed her down. That's what Kirk must do to his girlfriends. He just like after the bunk what's
After
that?
they Marvin Gaye and get
After
it
they
on,
Marvin
yeah.
Gaye it, it's
Yeah.
like pretty much. So.
Just like,
At the
okay,
Christmas
now
party.
you gotta leave.
This is the one. Which planet has the rings? This is the planet where in the updated technical version of special effects that has cool rings.
That was this one.
That was this one.
Yeah.
I did because I in my mind I still have the original VHS like tapes, like the crappy special effects where half of the Earths were just basically just like a ball
Yeah.
that they painted and
Clay
then
ball.
clay ball and although sometimes they would take like images of the Earth and just blur them and colorize them just for fun because they had them, which was kind of bizarre. But now are we going right into this next episode? We got time, right?
You're at 55 minutes.
Well, we can knock off Mary quick
Yeah,
because it's not.
Yeah,
good.
it's okay. So Miri,
Yes, we pull up on
yeah,
Earth like
yeah,
it's
we,
Earth.
We just go to Earth.
We
We're
just
like,
go to other Earth.
yeah, they're just like, oh, this looks like Earth, and they're just like,
It's got the
"Hey,
same
yeah."
constellations.
Yeah,
It's like I think this happens a couple times actually,
yeah, they're like, oh, this looks exactly like Earth, and it is exactly like Earth,
and
and
it
actually,
looks just like Hollywood Studios.
Let's
in
beam
Burbank.
down to the Warner Brothers lot.
Let's wander to the back lot of Warner Brothers and just put some old cars on the street.
yeah, crazy enough, it looks.
What's the video game that's coming up? That's like what's the video game that's like 1950s
Fallout?
It's like
Yeah.
Fallout.
Yeah, well, it really is. So basically, they get down there, and there's some kids there.
Oh,
They're
do
all.
you want to read the
Oh,
description
sure. I'll
really
read
quick?
I'll read the synopsis.
Synopsis. Synopsis. Read the synopsis.
They did send a distress call. The Enterprise responds to a distress call discovered to be from a Class M planet virtually identical to Earth. Indigenous humanoid inhabitants determined to be nearly all dead, found to be victims of a disastrous research project whose goal, ironically, was to prolong life. Investigation reveals the only survivors of the group are children, who are discovered to be aging at a rate equivalent to 1 month every century of real time. A native child, a young woman named Miri, provides information from which Enterprise personnel determine that these children die upon reaching puberty. The Enterprise landing party, infected with the same disease, is quarantined on planet's surface until a viable antitoxin can be developed by Dr. Leonard Nicoy. Wow. Nicoy. Lemon
It's a lot of
Nicoy.
reading.
Lemons McCoy.
Nick Noy.
Yeah, so
There's just so much wrong with this. I have so many.
Lemurds Nick
I have
Moy.
so many questions about
Yeah.
this. Like, this is a stupid distress signal.
Yeah,
So they didn't have space travel because it's 19 whatever Earth.
yeah, it's 1960s, maybe
So
50s, maybe.
what are they distressing into who?
I assume
And it's in this small town. This isn't like Atlanta where it's the CDC. This is literally just the backlots. There's a little lab in like a storefront. There's a diner next door and a card shop across the street. And then there's the lab that destroyed humanity.
Yep. We're just in a little like seemingly western town, right? It was like
Marty McFly. I'm expecting Marty McFly to roll up and like with his dad and his mom, like we're going to the dance.
yeah, and then they arrive and they immediately get attacked by this guy who's
Yes.
just like, "That's mine, that's mine." No, wait, no.
You
He
broke
said,
my
"You
tricycle."
broke it, you broke it." He's just like panicking and then he just dies, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, that was weird." Oh,
Isn't he's all like deformed and stuff too,
Yeah,
right?
Yes,
he's
because
like-
obviously he was a teenager, and then he hit puberty, and then once he hit puberty, then it accelerates completely, and he just immediately gets all
This
the.
episode kind of very, very slightly reminds me of like Children of the Corn or
Yeah.
Children of the Corn, but also like
I don't even know if Children of the Corn had even been written yet.
no, I
To
don't.
be honest.
Definitely not. But this was very
Well, it's
similar,
very
like
Lord
in
of
the
the
cult.
Flies
Like
that
they're
like
very
they put a bunch
culty.
of kids on a planet, like
Yeah.
what would happen, and they're apparently just like bonk on the head, everybody.
Yeah,
I have so many the things that drive me crazy. Like, so the fact that like the clothing, like could you wear the same clothes when they just disintegrate over 300 years? I mean, how is there still food? I know the food's running out. Now it's running out.
Yeah,
Are these guys farming? Like, what are they eating?
Yeah, apparently the disease did a lot of damage to the ecology of the planet as well somehow.
Yeah, but not the apple trees. The
yeah.
apple trees are fine.
Oh, the grumps. The grumps
yeah,
are
the
all
grumps.
gone. The grumps.
It's like the
I can
time
understand-
is too long.
I can
if it would have
understand-
been
Yeah.
like 50 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe there's like it's like I have the same problems like Walking Dead. Like, what do you mean? You can't. I don't like. There's just stuff that's always around. Like gas doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
Like your lawnmower, you try to restart your lawnmower a year after using the same gas. No, your lawnmower's not going to work.
Well, at least they didn't try to get in any cars.
Yeah.
You know what's wrong with it? Ain't got no gas in it.
So my chief problem with this episode is like they just don't understand how psychology works.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's certain physiological changes when you grow up, right? There are certain like biological changes in your brain that happen after puberty and then again after you hit 25. The thing is, like, that's only like a third of the equation. Like 2/3 of maturity is your life experiences. These kids quote unquote are in hundreds of years old, at least.
Right.
And they're like just acting like literal children. Like they're just like, yeah, we've just been the exact same for the past 700 years. You know, it's like, what do you mean? How are you like still acting like a 5-year-old when you're 500 years old?
Well, and the other thing that aren't they only like 200, 300 years in the future from like today?
Well, I assume the planet must be a little bit further in the past, like than
My
us.
my assumption is that Earth, if you think of the 200 whatever years, that Earth is literally paralleling our Earth right now. So what happened to that planet happened in the 1960s at the same time. And then you fast forward, like, in other words, these two planets, our planet Earth, and that planet Earth 2, are literally on the exact same timeline.
So they're just
Like they should have just alternate universed it.
Yeah, they should have alternate universed it, or not even alternate just make it a different planet, just aliens. They're just aliens.
But then they couldn't use Backstreet Warner Brothers.
And also like
They could have though. They literally could have and said
the
something
kids
like,
weren't. They happen to have football helmets and that.
Yeah.
You know, I like the
yeah,
kid.
they
with the
could have just said
football helmet.
like, hey, you know, we saw planet Earth at one point and we were like, we like your style.
Well, they do
so we
that.
took
They
all
do
your
that, and
stuff.
they explain that with some other episodes, which is a better way of doing it. But then they do the one with the Nazis, like down the road, where they talk about the theory of parallel planet development. But at least they try to sci-fi it, like yada yada. That there's a theory of similar planet evolution that's been talked about in like Miner's Planet or whatever it's called. Like there's a thing in Star Trek where they have the concept that, and they do explain eventually in Star Trek why all the humanoids basically look alike.
Yeah.
They do eventually in Next Generation get to that, why everybody basically has arms and legs.
Yeah, and can breed with each other,
Right.
Which is a big one,
Right. You know, although in Legend, not in Legend, but Star Wars. I just turned into Jordan Kinney.
Oh God.
In Legends,
in canon of Star Trek, it's pretty well discussed in one of the books that when Sarek and Amanda had Spock, that it did not go well. That it was very, very, very difficult because no Vulcan and human had ever mated before. So Spock is the first, supposedly, at least in canon, that they never had this before. And then there were a lot of medical challenges that Spock almost died and Amanda almost died, and it wasn't an easy birth by any stretch of the imagination. So that it wasn't just like some races, it's like, oh, she's half betazoid or whatever it is, like, and there's just no problems at all. But they always kind of made it that it was, like that type of stuff. But even obviously, Klingons that are like, I think like Worf's
son Alexander.
His mother is.
He's 3/4 Klingon.
Yeah,
His
'cause
mother
she's
is
half
human.
She was half human.
It's also mentioned in DS9 that Jadzia was taking, or maybe it was both Worf and Jadzia were taking medications to make children possible.
Right.
So clearly there's some barrier there, but
Right.
like considering they're on like realistically without that explanation of the ancient ones, that it just shouldn't be possible.
Right.
As Spock says, my ancestors evolved in a very different pond than yours.
Right. There are some moments in this episode that I find tolerable. I like some of the interactions with Spock, where like Spock realizes he's a carrier, so he can't go back to the ship either. So even though he's not affected, he can't go back because he'll make everybody else sick.
Doesn't he?
And he goes, and I do want to go back to the ship. Like he's like he's not affected, but he's a carrier.
Yeah. Although I think his lack of being affected is most. Wait, was he there or was he on the?
No, he's there because
yeah.
remember he's helping with the research and everything. And then I like that, like they're all getting on each other's nerves. Plus they're starting to be affected by the disease because they have been there. It seems like they've been there for about at least a week or two. Like they've been on this planet. I think they have 7 days from when they lose the when the guys steal their communicators. Which that kid does not look like that kid looks like he's 25.
Yeah.
Like the guy Miri, the guy who's like in charge. With
Yeah.
I feel like with the army jacket, like
One of the older kids.
yeah, like that kid is not a teenager. Like that kid is that guy.
It's also
is-
why he says
that
reminds
guy's
me of Children of the
that guy's
Corn. He looks like
25.
he's
like Marty
like,
McFly. He's
"Not
like Michael
now,
J.
Malachi."
Fox. He's like way too old to be a teenager. But I do like that. I like some of the like when they're getting on each other's nerves a little bit, and I do like the human Rand stuff. You get like that type of stuff, and that leads to why Mary kind of betrays them all. And what I do like is that like when they finally get the thing they want to try, and they don't want to test without the computers, but McCoy just says fuck it, like we're all gonna die if I don't do this.
He's like he injects himself. He's like Spock, Spock.
He's like, what was I thinking?
And Spock comes in. He's like, I don't even remember. He says something. He's like, what did you do? Or what is he?
He's out. He's
Yeah.
passes out.
I thought he said something to him.
I
Like,
think
when he walked
he
in.
comes running in and he's just laying there, and Spock just checks his vitals, and there's a security guard with him, and he's like hypo, and he's like empty, and then I think at that point Kirk comes in with carrying his daughter.
Yeah.
Because that's his daughter.
Oh, what?
That's his daughter.
That's
William
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 Shatner's
Shatner's
daughter.
Yeah, like the girl that he's carrying is his daughter. That's his.
Oh.
Some of the actors were just a lot of the actors in that scene. A lot of the little kids were just Crew's kids. I don't. Some of them, the ones with lines got paid, but the other ones I think were just extras. So I think the one that Shatner's carrying is actually his daughter.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Save some money that way.
Yeah. I didn't know that until just a couple years ago. I saw that it was one of those did you know things on the social media.
It was just so. I get what they were going for, but it was just so uncomfortable when like the Miri was just constantly just like she had a huge crush on Kirk, and it was just like I was like, oh, let's stop that.
Mary, just go wash some test tubes and sharpen some more pencils for me.
Yeah.
How many pencils do you need, man? So.
And that ends up being a central like plot point to the episode, because Miri gets jealous of the fact that like Yeoman Rand is like like seeking comfort from Kirk, and she's just like, oh, and then she runs to the kids and is like, yeah, I'm betraying them, and it's just kind of like, and I guess we should probably address Bonk too, because Kirk goes in there to get his communicators, and all the kids are there, and they're just like, what was it? Ha ha ha. No. Oh yeah, nya 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 nya. It's like, and you said earlier, no, nya nya.
No, they go blah blah.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, no blah blah blah. There won't be nothing. This food's all gone. You jerks ate it. Y'all haven't done homework in 300 years.
Yeah, they just beat the shit out of him.
They hit him with like bonk on the head. Are you the mayor and the police chief? I got 2 jobs. That one little kid. He's, I got two jobs. And I got a New York accent, even though I'm in Middle West America.
But I'm not. I'm on another planet.
But his shirt's stupid. His shirt, maybe that was, I don't know. That shirt's kind of like, is that a 60s shirt?
His shirt is stupid.
That's the only one that they didn't like, that they made. Everything else was just like from the Salvation Army, but except for that kid's shirt. Like, I don't know. The things like that episode drive me crazy. Like, There's a couple, I forget what it was, because there's one of the signs in one of the stores someone identified a couple years ago and like screenshotted it, and they realized like from another movie that it was from the people who who recognize, well, this was used in that set and this was used in that. And obviously that set's been used for hundreds of things, because it's sometimes it's a Western thing, sometimes it's small town America. Like they just like, do they just put dirt down? Like, no, it's serious, from a technical question, like, because that street looked like it was just covered in dirt. But sometimes that's just pavement. So they do you think they had like crews that would just come and like put dirt down on it?
Oh yeah, that's a real thing.
And then they just pick it back up and just...
Yeah, they do that. I mean, they do that with like snow all the time. They'll shoot a Christmas movie in like springtime, and they'll just have a crew that comes in and blows snow all over the ground and then lets it melt.
What is it? Is it like fake white stuff?
Sometimes it's like a chemical thing where you can like blow it out of a leaf blower, and it literally just comes out like foam, and then it's just like water, and it lasts long enough, and then you just leave it for a couple days, or you throw water on it, it melts.
I mean, I do.
So they have whole like landscaping and greens crews that just come in and just do that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing for that they probably had to bring in like a dump truck or something, and then just have people
probably,
rake it
and
out.
they probably just had a bunch of greenery people just spreading it all over the place.
I appreciate that stuff. I mean, I do like that part of filmmaking, like sets that get used over and over again. I'm fascinated by sets that get, and I know that there was at one point the Warner Brothers sets, those sets were all destroyed. And think about it now, like if those sets were still around, like that would be a much more interesting tour than the fake stuff that they built. Like I would love to, like I always thought it was kind of crazy that they just tore apart like the Star Wars sets and stuff, like where they, once they knew the movie was popular, like you'd think that they would have kept those and put those on display or something somewhere that we could see them. I'd love that.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like they, a lot of that stuff just didn't survive.
Well, like even like when they were doing Picard season 3, they have to recreate the Enterprise bridge set, and most of it was gone, including that big, huge wooden thing that goes behind Captain Picard's thing. Like they had to remake that, and that was a really complicated piece of wood, because in Star Trek lore, wood like that in the future is there's not a lot of wood. Like they just don't use it for that type of stuff anymore. So like that's why when you see wood like on the Enterprise bridge and on Picard's desk, like that's about it. Everything else is some kind of like recycled, reused material, like a fake material, where rarely do they use real wood and stuff like that anymore. In the future, they have other things that they use instead, which is kind of an interesting, like, I like that lore that in the future you're going to have more of that,
Yeah, I that's such a beautiful set on The Next Generation.
Yeah,
like it's just such a beautiful set.
Yeah,
like I like it.
What's your favorite? What is your favorite bridge?
Probably, I have a lot of emotional attachment to the Defiant, but like the Next Generation bridge is just gorgeous. Yeah. Like and you can see like as a ship, it's just these are to scale.
Right.
It's just a big ship.
Right.
Like the most advanced ship in the fleet until the Sovereign class, I guess.
Yeah.
The Next Generation one is like very I don't know, luxurious. It has that like cream color, and there's a lot of like leather on the seats and that kind of stuff. It's almost like a luxury vehicle.
I think like I know that when they did production design work, that they really wanted to make the Next Generation Enterprise seem so much more advanced. So that's why everything's so much bigger. People's quarters are like bigger than most people's apartments. Yeah. Where like on the original series, like you were in like you had a bed and you had a little room, and if you were an officer, you had like maybe a desk too, like and obviously your shower that we never saw you take. But that was it. Like, and so they're like, well, in the future, our ships are going to be bigger because power consumption is no different than Navy vessels that nowadays, like, they're bigger, they're more powerful. And they also wanted to show that this is not a ship of war. They're not constantly worrying about being destroyed because the universe is more colonized or whatever. It's not colonized. It's more. It's just more at peace. It's more established.
Established.
Where in Kirk's generation of time, it's that cowboy diplomacy, so to speak. So I do like that they understood within their canon that was a design choice to make that Enterprise seem much more like a big luxury. There's families on it and all that stuff. So I kind of like that they do that. Where the Defiant, they purposely go out of the way. There's like the quarters are tiny, like everybody's sharing a room. The bridge is real tight. I do like that they recognize that the types of ships that they build and design.
I also do like the design of Voyager's bridge as well.
Okay.
So it's sleek, Like
I can't stand there's like too many steps and up and down.
and there is a lot of that.
You got to go over here. Like it doesn't seem very handicap accessible to me.
No.
So, like if you got a wheelchair, you just can't be on this crew. Like you're not going into space.
You gotta get fake legs. Sorry.
You gotta get the fake or learn to fly. Like that one episode of Deep Space Nine where the girl can like
go into zero G
stuff.
Yeah.
So. I think I love the set design of Deep Space Nine because I love that they went and they were able to just completely throw out everything they had done before.
Yeah, you want to talk about not handicap accessible?
Yeah, like they make fun. The ship is the Cardassian design is just awful. Like, and they purposely went out of the way to make it like the beds are uncomfortable, the rooms are. But they, in a weird way though, they make it really. It's still there's a look to it. I love the promenade on Deep Space Nine. I love Cisco's office on Deep Space Nine. I think it's just so friggin' cool. Like so, but I really do like the Next Generation bridge. I think of the bridges, Next Generation's bridge probably my favorite as well.
Yeah, just the budget and everything else that went into it.
I hated what they did to it for Generations.
Oh, when it was on the side.
Where they added like panels, they added like if you see the Generations movie, which is the original series Next Generation crossover movie, they changed the set. For the movie, they actually on the sides where the ramps are. There's there's additional workers over there. I don't know what they're doing, but there's like more panels. So it's funny.
Those
and
are
they
just blank walls.
they reference the change of the bridge in Picard. That when they reference if you get to Picard, I don't know if you guys watch Picard, but when you get to Picard, they talk about why the bridge got changed. Like they fix it in canon, which I was like when they fix that stuff.
Yeah, I was trying with Picard. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's not. It's
What
just
season are you in?
Season 2, I think.
Season 3 is really good. If you like Next Generation, you'll like season 3, especially the second half. Of the second 4 or 5 episodes are really. I liked it because I think like some of the characters they brought in, like Rios and stuff, are really good. So, all right. We probably did more than we should have, but
yeah. Well, we did 3 episodes. It's not actually terrible long.
What's next?
So now I will do some housekeeping while we look up what the next episodes are.
I don't know if I trust this book.
Wasn't any feedback this week on these episodes, but if you want to give feedback on the next episodes we cover, that's going to be DoubleFistPunchPodcast at yahoo.com. You can send in any comments on those episodes or previous episodes, and we'll read them out on air if we didn't cover the topic already.
Ooh, according to this, the next one's Corbinite Maneuver.
Yeah, the Corbinite Maneuver is really good.
Then the Menagerie, and then Conscience of the King. So I'm wondering if we should just maybe not do Corbinite. Maybe we should do the Menagerie.
Just do the Menagerie and then...
Slash the Cage. And kind of just, that's a cool episode, I think, by itself. There's so much lore with that.
And then on the episode after that, the
then
Corbinite
we'll come back to Corbinite and Conscience of the King. Corbinite Maneuver is one of my favorite epissodes.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I love that episode.
But next week is going to be, or next time, yeah.
Next time on Double Fist Punch Podcast.
We cover the Menagerie.
The Enterprise.
And the Cage. By proxy, I guess.
People with big heads.
And popping veins.
I like those costumes.
Veins.
I like those costumes a lot.
Yeah. I do like
They
that. I mean, those are some cool prosthetics for 1960s. So, okay.
All right. So, with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening or watching, and we'll catch you next time. And remember, learn to fight well.